Hello, it's Soul, and welcome back to Warcraft Weekly. This is actually the last show that we're going to have until we enter a new era for the world of Warcraft. Everything is going to change, just not this show, though.
Because why follow trends and make a living when you can stand up for the things you believe in?
Yeah, man, I'm not going to act on something just because it's popular.
Oh, I meant that as an insult.
Well, dude, if I was just going to follow what's popular, I would have dropped your ass a long time ago. So let's give thanks to all the lovely people who pledged their hard-earned real money so that I can bring you Warcraft news each and every week. Summerlin of SoulSoBreezy, first of their name, is the latest addition to the family, so welcome. More additions bring joy to my breast. And something placeholder, encourage patron, dash, reminder, followed by amusing segue. Next week is going to be a big week in gaming. You've been waiting for it, and if you haven't, you've probably been hearing about it. And if you haven't heard about it, well, welcome to the channel. Because on August 30th, Astral Chain is being released for the Nintendo Switch. But Soul, you must be thinking, what the heck?
Yeah, what the heck?
I know, because August 30th is on a Friday. That's like forever from now. But, hey, you know, it's okay because there's some game called World of Warcraft Classic coming out on the 27th. So that'll give you 3 whole days of just that until you get into some real gaming. Some real serious anime cop stuff.
Are there tentacles?
I don't know. Probably not.
Trash game, classic all the way.
The hype for World of Warcraft Classic has only been growing in the months and weeks and now days before its release. I strongly advise you to double and triple check your local time so you can hop into Classic the moment it opens, just like the good old days. No, that's a lie. I remember we stood in front of an electronics store built with some sort of weird Egyptian theme, and it was midnight. We bought the game and it came in this kind of laminated box. Think of an Amazon box, but like much thinner, and it has like a little bit of a design to it. Inside of these boxes were 4 plastic wafers, 4 of them. Shoot, wait till I get to the part where I tell them about how I installed Dune 2 on I think like 24 floppy disks.
No, don't do it. We get it. You're old.
WoW Classic is a revisit to the experience during the time of MySpace and LimeWire, and now it's being brought back to life in an era of Twitter and Twitch, so, you know, the world hasn't really gotten any better, has it? Remember the other week when I placed some doubt on Blizzard's confidence in WoW Classic? Like, where are the commercials? Where is the Blizzard branded hype? Can they please do better than Ragnaros popping out of your screen when you use Stamp Chat? This week, Blizzard veterans who originally worked on Vanilla WoW.
Did you say Stamp Chat?
Yeah, it's Stamp Chat, the thing that my niece and nephew use where you take the pictures, and did I really spell that wrong? This week, Blizzard veterans who originally worked on Vanilla WoW, who still happen to be employed at Blizzard, sorry Mark, sat down to play their game from 15 years ago and just talked. Really, that's all it took. It was the perfect pull at nostalgia. So that's what we've been getting. Over the past 10 days, the realms have started filling out. Regular statements have been coming from Blizzard as to which realms are the most heavily impacted. From Hero D to Thymane to the Asmongold plus Friend server. In fact, more realms are being added to both regions, and by launch, 20 realms will be available in the US region, 21 in Europe. It's one full realm after another, followed by more additions, all under this projection that yes, everyone who has reserved their name will in fact be on during the earliest or the first days and weeks of Classic. Even if you consider the high likelihood that among them, some people are just reserving their name, but they're not really racing to be on the first day, seeing a lot of these full realms looks very promising. Speaking of names, on Monday when the additional realms do open up, the 3 character limit restriction will be lifted, meaning that you can create up to 50 characters on your WoW Classic account, 10 on each realm if you're a complete psycho. And yet with all this excitement comes a growing concern that the experience players yearn for in Classic WoW, with a more difficult questing experience, a bustling community, a meaningful endgame meta, that these things might be compromised. And it won't be the bean counters over at Activision Blizzard playing the role of evil puppet master. It's gonna be by the Classic community itself. Currently, members of the community are embroiled in a war of words, and each side is defending their vision of Classic WoW. This has less to do with the invisible hand of Blizzard, although they do kind of play a part, but it has more to do with what fans have done to push their take of Classic onto others. Before I get to that though, first, from the mouths of Blizzard themselves came a Reddit AMA, or Ask Me Anything, that answered questions that soothed fears and maybe pissed off at least a few people.
My corpses, how will I advertise my gold selling network now?
Right, let's go over the highlights. When the game goes live, you're going to know this from your character screen because the Enter World button will be highlighted. So you can be on the screen right here, right now, and just wait. You maniac. The hardest parts of creating the Classic environment for WoW are done. That is, if fans want Classic BC and Lich King servers, it's both feasible and easier to do. I mean, duh, it kind of makes sense considering the size of vanilla compared to the size of individual expansions. Layering technology in Classic is going to look very different when you compare a beta to live. I am super oversimplifying here, but you should not be able to exploit jumping in and out of groups to switch between layers, or otherwise exploit PvP situations. Also, layering will end by the end of Phase 1. Blizzard is going to observe the population swelling and contraction, and then react using the resources they have available, including adjusting realm caps, opening up additional realms, and offering transfer services, free or otherwise. But that said, what's being offered now isn't perfect. I mean, there's no telling if the list of full realms are an actual indicator that these realms will be that populated, just that people made characters on said realms. The AMA was actually very meaty. All I did was cover a few of the more broad topics that I thought that more people would care about. So if you check out the description below, I'm going to have a link to a Wowhead article that has all the questions and answers, so that way you don't have to go to the actual thread and go through all the different comments. Alright, so the WoW Classic community. In just a few days, players around the world can finally live or relive the original game. It's not just a level 5 stress test. It's not a level 45 beta. This is the real thing. WoW Classic is a reflection of what the players want that was lost in the march of progress. Their goals are absolutely crystal clear. The players, they're acting as one, in solidarity, united. No, they're not. Let me rephrase actually. There are going to be a lot of happy players of World of Warcraft Classic. How they choose to enjoy it, it's totally their choice. But I'm noticing that there is this grumbling resentment between fellow Classic fans about what is the, I guess, quote, correct way to enjoy it, or if enjoying it a different way is something that we can tolerate. This week, Method's organization announced that in a partnership with the World Showdown of Esports, a race to World First will be held for Classic WoW. Their stream will feature 24-hour coverage of some of the best Classic players out there, hitting milestones like being the first level 60, or being part of the first team to complete Molten Core and Onyxia. This is like Summer Games done quick. For those of you who aren't familiar with the program, that's a week-long event featuring gaming's top speedrunners, crushing both classic and modern games at record-breaking speed. In this case though, well, only one game is being featured. Now in support of speedrunners, I can see how this can be really exciting to watch. Like, what sort of surprises are in store for viewers? What kind of tricks could these players pull? I also admit that watching speedruns isn't really my cup of coffee though. And this isn't like the typical world first race of raiding where guilds like Method and Limit are looking at WoW's most difficult content when it's coming fresh out the oven. This is just a gut feeling, my personal opinion, but I have doubts that there's going to be a lot of interest in watching speed grinds, chaining dungeons, and raids where most of the challenge was in getting people to just show up, but I'm just speaking for myself. Also throughout the week, sites like Wowhead, mostly Wowhead, has been releasing one guide after another, covering all there is about Classic WoW. Dungeon guides, profession guides, even citing the best classes for dungeons and raids. Yeah, the comments in that thread are exactly what you hope for them to be. This also happens to be the what of the week, because each time I'd look at guides like how to be a protection paladin in Classic, I'd be like, what? Because seriously, the guide to becoming a protection paladin in Classic is to reserve the name of your paladin and then just wait until like Classic BC or Classic Lich King when tanking as a paladin was feasible. I haven't been shy about my kind of meandering like and dislike of Wowhead. Full disclosure though, I rely on it a lot for its robust archive of news and to tell me which pet loadout to use whenever because I keep forgetting to update my rematch add-on. I'm not telling the people of Wowhead to stop producing guides so that people, especially new players, that they don't have such an easily accessible crutch to their experience. These guides and articles aren't being shoved down our throats, we always have the choice to read them or to not. Back to the personal opinion though, I feel that part of the new player experience is in fact to fumble around, get lost, screw up, and then ask for help from your in-game fellows. The high visibility of guides on a high visibility site like Wowhead, I think they threaten to compromise that sort of community interaction. Also this week, and finally I can talk about what's on the thumbnail, Icy Veins featured an add-on called ClassicLFG. I'm going to try and explain its functionality quickly. It's an add-on designed to help people make and join groups, and there are two parts to it. One part of the add-on works with WoW's in-game chat. Say you want to make a group. You open the add-on, select the dungeon or raid that you want to make a pug for, and then start broadcasting. The add-on will automatically send messages to the channels of choice to look for people. If they're interested, they will whisper you. There's also an automated function that you can toggle, something that people find extremely controversial. If someone replies with a certain keyword like inv, you'll automatically invite that person to your group. This sort of automation is not something in the spirit of Classic, people would argue. People ought to be interacting directly and not let some tool or add-on do it for them. Sorry for the sudden special reports with this lower quality mic, but this just in. It turns out that the functionality of this add-on is expected to be severely nerfed, notably the ability for the add-on to function as its own small network. According to this statement that I'm going to leave on screen here for a few minutes, this flies against the 2004 social structure of World of Warcraft Classic, and as such, this sort of behavior will be repressed. I obviously pre-recorded this before the statement was made, but I'm going to leave my discussion in this video. I still think it's a subject that's worth talking about, but to make it clear, ClassicLFG's most intrusive features will be disabled shortly into Classic's launch. And now, back to the good mic. But let me talk a little bit more about this auto-joining drama first. I think I get it when people are voicing their concerns over being able to basically hit a button, walk away, come back, and then you have a group. It almost feels like it devalues the people that are joining your group as opposed to investing the little bits of typing time that you put into to get these people in. To be fair though, I'd argue that when you're just going through leveling dungeons, for example, does there really need to be much more interaction in the invite process other than LF something followed by invite pills? Inviting two people in a group is just like step one in the long process of running a dungeon, because there's still the matter of actually going there, running the freaking dungeon, and distributing loot and all that stuff. Those things are not done for you. There is still plenty of room for interaction. But I did say that there are two forms of functionality with this add-on. It's still all about making and finding groups, but there is also functionality exclusive to people who are sharing this add-on that does not use WoW's in-game chat to facilitate it. ClassicLFG is part of a generation of World of Warcraft add-ons that talk to each other directly like they're a mini social network. In the case of this add-on, there's added functionality that only works between users of the add-on, including using it to find a group via menu, kind of like or almost identical to the pre-made group finder. This enables add-on users to invite each other no matter where they are, and it doesn't have to spam game-wide channels like Global Defense. From the looks of it, users of the add-on may also be able to see other players' specs, which has the potential for group leaders to prejudge people before even sending an invite. I think this is a really important discussion to have when it comes to where the line should be drawn for add-ons like this. Like I asked earlier, are auto-invites that big of a deal when it plays such a small part in the classic group interaction? After all, there's no cross-realm functionality. It's not like the dungeon finder, you don't just instantly teleport in and out. There's plenty of time to get to know your team even before you enter the dungeon. And depending on the dungeon, you all might be there for a while. Is auto-spamming chat channels that big of a deal either? Because, I've seen plenty of LFG spam, guild spam, whatever spam, that runs a lot faster than ClassicLFG's default 90 seconds. But should add-ons on Classic be allowed to communicate with each other? I think that's one of the bigger things to address. I'm not 100% certain that that was the case, but if I remember correctly, I don't think these add-ons were a thing back then. But if Blizzard does get pressured to break the functionality of this add-on, what other add-ons might be affected? I'm not knowledgeable enough to know for sure, but I think of DBM and pull timers. Do those communicate directly with each other so that way when you do your pull 5 or pull 10, that way everyone's client goes off at once as long as they have the add-on? So if something like that breaks, add-on creators are going to have to go back and find a workaround or go back to previous workarounds. It just kind of sucks that, well, we only got a couple days until Classic's launch. What I think this really boils down to is, what are we scared of? We live in an internet that is easier than ever to communicate from outside the game, thanks to social networks like Discord, and Blizzard has no control over that. Add-ons like this didn't come out of nowhere. Similar add-ons did in fact appear in vanilla WoW, so they're just a product of demand. If ClassicLFG does get shut down, it's not going to make that demand disappear all of a sudden. The community is going to find a way, whether it's through Discord or the return of Open Raid or some other add-on that bypasses whatever Blizzard does. And yet, this is just one front in the debate between fellow Classic enthusiasts. Add-ons like these, along with Twitch streams and the visibility of Wowhead, they're not going to destroy what made vanilla WoW great, but it is giving players more experience options than ever before. With those options come compromises, with divides, debate, and sometimes toxicity. A few years ago, some guy downplayed the demand for legacy servers. You think you do, but you don't. He was punished severely with a promotion to president of Blizzard Entertainment. Looking back, that statement may still sound as abrasive as it did back then, but more and more, we're starting to understand what that really means. There is no questioning the passion or the demand for World of Warcraft Classic. You think you do, and you know what? You're right. But how to experience a 2004 game in a 2019 internet and market? Which is the right way? Is it yours? Is it today's add-ons or yesterday's add-ons? Is it with or without the company of streamers? Is it the journey? Or is it the destination? Because Blizzard can only control so much of that. The rest is up to you and the community. And really, if you look around, we have a really wide range of opinions. Some of you might think you know the answer. You think you do, but you don't. And that's the show. Right. Okay, so there was a PTR build this week that didn't reveal like anything new, so there's that. And artifact knowledge is going to continue all the way up until October 1st. There you go. As a follow-up from last week, I want to announce a winner of WoW Game Time. Yay! I asked people to help design a new thumbnail and title for a lore video that, well, it totally bombed.
Because the content was definitely not garbage.
Anyway, I followed your suggestions and designed about a dozen thumbnails. Some worked way better than others, but I did choose a winner. Ethan Exabyte, your suggestion was chosen, and this is the product. A Dark Naru standing in front of a supernova explosion with the caption, "What is this?" Or, you know, something to that effect. So, Ethan, contact me, somehow. Twitter, Discord, leave your battle tag and a comment below. I spent about 2 or so hours going through that whole creative process, and I'm going to try to make that available for view over on YouTube for your pleasure, in case you're interested in some behind-the-scenes stuff. So this is it, folks, and I legit think that steam is starting to form all around me. It's like really warm in here. So in a few short days, prayers are going to be answered, and a new generation of WoW players is going to be born. I'm not talking about the returning players who have been waiting for Classic. I'm not talking about super brand new players who never heard of the World of Warcraft before. I'm not even talking about those of us who aren't interested in Classic, and when Tuesday rolls around, it's just another reset. On Tuesday, we're going to be part of a new generation of WoW players who have a choice to visit 2 massive worlds of Warcrafts. Yesterday's and today's, the old and the ongoing. Now, it's no secret that I have pretty much no plans to play Classic, and yet I'm as excited as I would be if there was a new WoW expansion coming out this Tuesday. I'm caught up in the same hype, the same excitement, and I'm going to continue to cover weekly highlights of both versions of WoW because this is what it is. I see all of us as just Warcraft fans. I mean, the finer details, sure, they're different, but we're all fans. And the more fans, the better. So I'll see you next week as I cover the inevitable chaos that comes with Classic's launch. Hopefully we'll get more news on 8.25 and stuff going forward, but until then, hey, have a good one. Stay safe, stay happy, and stay breezy. And welcome home, too.